Welcome back to the episode. Everything changed when I stopped looking. So, after enough time in active wilderness areas, I started noticing something that completely contradicted how most people search for Bigfoot. The harder someone pushed for an encounter, the faster the forest seemed to shut down around them. More movement, more searching, more cameras, less activity, consistently. People aggressively moving through the woods, constantly scanning, constantly trying to force something to happen, always came back frustrated. But the moment someone slowed down, stopped mentally chasing the experience, and became completely still, the atmosphere often changed almost immediately. The forest would go quiet. Movement in the trees would stop, and people started describing the exact same feeling over and over again. That something nearby became aware of them first. At first, I thought it was coincidence until I started testing the pattern for myself. The first thing I noticed was how differently the woods responded depending on my mindset. If I entered the area actively hunting for an experience, pushing, expecting, forcing, nothing happened. No unusual movements, no strange atmosphere. It was just nothing. Now, the moment I stopped mentally reaching for something, the environment would often change. And after enough time out there, certain patterns became impossible for me to ignore. The silence would deepen. Sounds suddenly became amplified. The atmosphere felt heavier, more focused, and multiple times I had the overwhelming feeling that something nearby was observing before I ever noticed anything visually. That pattern repeated enough that I stopped dismissing it. So eventually, I stopped approaching the wilderness like a search and started approaching it like observation. Attracting, magnetizing, right? Become the magnet so you can attract the experience. So instead of constantly moving, I started sitting still for long periods of time. No talking, no forcing, no constantly scanning. No chasing an outcome, just allowing the environment to settle naturally around me. And strangely, that's when the woods started reacting differently. Bird activity returned closer. Movement in the brush became more noticeable. The atmosphere felt less tense. And on several occasions, I experienced moments where the forest suddenly became so quiet, it immediately felt unnatural, and it's not peaceful, focused. Like something nearby was paying attention. And what disturbed us the most was how quickly the atmosphere shifted the moment we became mentally reactive again. The second I started searching, the feeling disappeared almost instantly. That's when I realized I wasn't just noticing random wilderness behavior anymore. I was noticing a repeatable environmental pattern connected to human behavior. And once I recognized it, I started hearing the same thing from other people who spent serious time in the remote wilderness areas. The moment they stop chasing the encounter, activity increases. The moment fear spikes, everything shuts down. The moment they become completely present in the environment, the atmosphere changes. It was different people in different forests, same progression. That became difficult to ignore. Now, obviously, some of this has rational explanations. Animals react different to movement, tension, and noise. And deep wilderness environments absolutely heighten human awareness. But even understanding that, certain patterns still became difficult for me to explain away because the environmental shifts people describe are strangely specific. The silence, the pressure, the sudden feeling of mutual awareness. And after hearing the same sequences repeated over and over again, and with viewers who go and take these techniques that are getting repeatable interactions, you got to stop viewing these encounters as completely random events, and instead started looking more like interactions shaped by behavior and attention. Not just what people see, but how they enter the environment itself. I think this is where a lot of researchers accidentally sabotage themselves. They enter the woods trying to take something from the experience, whether that be proof, evidence, validation. The deeper I got into this, the more I started noticing that aggressive observation changes the atmosphere immediately. Almost like the environment responds differently once you stop relating to it naturally. And I'm not saying that proves anything supernatural, but I do think there is a reason so many unrelated people describe the same behavioral shifts before unusual experiences happen. And this can be Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Dogman, fairies, orbs, extraterrestrials, right? It's unseen beings because we're coming into coherence. So maybe the biggest barrier between people and these encounters isn't distance. Maybe it's the mindset they bring into the woods. And after enough time testing this pattern, I stopped looking at the wilderness like something you conquer mechanically and started realizing how sensitive the environment becomes to human behavior. And the strange part is, the moments that stayed with me most were never the moments I was aggressively searching for something. They were the moments I became completely still and suddenly felt the forest was aware of me. And once you experience that enough times, it becomes very difficult to dismiss. Now, have you ever noticed the atmosphere in the woods change after becoming completely still? Or experienced moments where the environment suddenly felt aware of you? Comment below. I read every experience carefully. Because maybe the moment people stop forcing the encounter is the moment the forest finally responds. Hope you enjoyed. Leave a like, subscribe, comment, share, help grow the community if it aligned with you. And thanks for watching again.